Hi, this is Dr. David Boyson. So I want us to look at operation strategy in a global environment, a very exciting topic. So the discussion is going to go this way. We're going to look at global company profile using Boeing and other companies. Boeing is into the aircraft manufacturing and industry. And also have a look at the global view of operations where cultural and dimension and other ethical issues come in. Then we now look at developing missions and strategy, where we look at how to develop a mission and how to scale up strategies to align to the mission. And then also look at achieving competitive advantage through operations, where we look at the trilogy differentiation, cost, and response. That's Michael Porter's low-cost strategy differentiation, and then also the flexibility aspects. Then we look at 10 strategic operation management decisions. So, and also look at global operation strategy, the options in the light of international and multi-domestic strategy, global strategy, and then transnational strategy. These are the learning objectives. We're going to see how we define mission and strategy. And we want students at the end of this study be able to identify, of this presentation, identify and explain 3 strategic approaches to competitive advantage, and also identify and define the 10 decisions of operations management. And finally, identify and explain 4 global operation strategic options. So globalization is the order of the day now. I mean, we used to have something we call internationalization, where you move from one country within the same continent to another country. Now, with globalization, we are moving from one continent to the other. And if you look at the structure of the 7 or so continents that we have, companies strategize in the way globally to make sure that they will take advantage of, costs, and they will take advantage of flexibility and differentiation to be able to, keep in the competition or outwit their competitors. So you see companies, mother companies, some were headquartered in US, and rather moving assets around other countries where actual production and manufacturing are done, so that the goods will be shipped to those nearby countries where we have our demand, or the company has its demand. And that has been the strategy in this age of globalization. Now, the internet has helped us to be able to connect to almost every country, and we can speak every language because of technology. And global operation strategy leverages heavily on technology. So let's look at Boeing, who has sales and productions everywhere, which is worldwide. Benetton moves inventory to stores around world faster than its competitive. That is its competitive advantage, by building flexibility into design, production, and distribution. And Sony also purchases components from suppliers in Thailand and Malaysia and around the world. And that's how global sourcing also works. So when we are sourcing for raw materials, we are not looking at it from just within the home country. How can we scale up and get into the global market and also take advantage of economics of scale to it? So Volvo, for instance, is considered a Swedish company, but it is controlled by an American that is company, which is Ford. Now, the current Volvo S40 is built in Belgium and shares its platform with Mazda 3, built in Japan, and Ford Focus, built in Europe. You see how these companies leverages on globalization, low cost, labor, low tariffs. They look at which countries have these, advantages, and then they leverage on it. So here, a Chinese company produces compact refrigerators, and it has 1/3 of its market in US. But it's a Chinese company. And then also wine cabinet, which has half of its customers in US, in South Carolina. And that is quite interesting. So let's look at some multinational corporations and how they are spread. So you have most of the countries here headquartered in USA. So Citicorp is headquartered in US, and it has percentage 34% sales or percent sales outside home country. So 34% of sales is from other countries other than the US. And then these same countries host about 46%, or you have 46% of asset outside home country. So these places where the sales happens, they have assets also in these areas. It could be manufacturing plants, it could be distribution centers, and percentage of foreign workforce, there are no, percentage of foreign. So expats are doing these works in these, areas that is outside in the US. But because of globalization, the headquarters is in the US, but they're able to do this, and that is how global operation strategy works. You have Colgate, the same thing, 72% of sales outside the home country, that is US, and assets that move around is about 63%. You come to Honda in Japan, that has 63% outside home country, and assets about 36%. Okay, so the sales, they are making almost 63% of their sales outside, Japan. And that's to tell you how global operation strategy is very important. And for that one, for Japan, they still don't have workforce, percentage of workforce, in outside these areas. But IBM is interested in a US company, 57% sales outside home country, 47% assets outside home country, and yet 51% of foreign workforce. And that is huge. Of course, you see some of these workers dotted across the continent. And this is also to promote, promote employment. In other words, to solve the problem of unemployment in these home countries. In some jurisdiction, if a company is coming to establish, one of the questions they will ask what is the local content and all that. So you have ICI in Britain having 78% of sales outside home country, 50% of the asset outside home country, and then no workforce, foreign workforce. But Nestle has in Switzerland has 98% sales outside home country. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It means that in Swiss, they are looking at just 2% of sales in Swiss, and then 95% asset are outside home country. It tells you that Nestle is more globalized in terms of its operation, and they have also 97% of foreign workforce, and which is very huge. Philips Electronics in Netherlands has 95%, 94% sales outside home country, 85% assets also asset outside home country, and then 82% foreign workers. And these things are very, very exciting, because then there's a win-win situation. In some jurisdiction, it is a policy that if a company and a company is entering into, or a foreign company is entering into that new market or that country, there should be some sort of, foreign local content, as they call it. And Siemens in Germany also have similar thing, doesn't have any asset outside home country, and yet they have 38% of foreign workers and all that. Unilever, British and Netherlands, 95% sales outside, 70% outside, asset outside home country, and then 64% foreign workers and all that. That's just exciting. So some examples with the suppliers of Boeing. Leticoeur is a firm that is in France that does passenger doors for Boeing. Boeing 787. And this is just exciting. Okay. So Boeing is a US company. Leticoeur in France let's call it in France, they have outsourced passenger doors for them to do. Lebanel in France also do the wiring of Boeing 787. Dassault in France also does the design and the PLM software. And Messe Bugatti in France also does electronic brakes. Hills in France does electronic power conversion system and integrated standby flight display. Messe Doty, France does the landing gear structure, and Dell, Germany, does the interior lighting. So these are the suppliers of Boeing. So they source these, or what we call, they outsource these strategic, part components with these companies in order to leverage on economics of what? Scale. So you realize that before Boeing gets to do one aircraft, all these shipments will have to be done. But of course, because these parts are gotten from these sources, and these are in their specialized areas, Boeing is able to leverage on what we call economics of scale and also get more quality for their, assembly. So you have other firms that Cobham in UK. What does it do? They supply Boeing with fuel pumps and valves. Rolls-Royce, UK, provide engines for Boeing. Smiths Aerospace, UK, also provide central computer system. The B system in UK provide electronics. Alenia Aeronautics in Italy also provides upper center, fuselage, and horizontal stabilizer. And Toro Industry in Japan also does carbon fiber for wing and tail units. Wow. So this is how globalized this company is. And there are many other, examples using Boeing. So the whole component, the whole assembly of the aircraft, the components are sourced from different parts of the world. The Japanese are there. They are also doing heavy things. Fuji Heavy Industries in Japan provides a component called center wing box. And then you have also Tijen Sechi in Japan doing hydraulic actuators. And then Heavy Aviation in China providing parts. Okay. And these companies play an integral role. Korea has a role to play. They also provide wing tips. All right. A company or a firm called Korea Aviation does that. And Saab in Sweden also provide cargo access doors for Boeing 7. So this is to tell you how globalized the companies are. But why do they do this? There's a reason that they go on globalization. And the first one that I've been saying is cost reduction. There is cheap labor, there is low taxes, there is low tariffs, and that is the reason, okay, and etc. And that is the reason, so that they will leverage on economics of scale and reduce the cost of production. There's also improvement in the supply chain. There's that visibility. So if you're not producing everything, and these guys are in their own right producing these parts, they all connect into Boeing's supply chain network, and it helps it to manufacture these aircraft. And there's also better, the other reason is also to provide better goods and services. In other words, because of globalization, you get more of the companies who provide, have core competence in very specific areas, like we saw that the Japanese are doing something, they are providing something for Boeing, the Germans are doing something, those in Switzerland are doing something, they're producing some components. These are companies who have built competence over the period. And that if you are able to leverage on their services, it helps you provide better goods and service. And it also helps the reasons of globalization. It's also because now we understand the market better. The diverse taste and preferences of customers are now being noticed, okay, because of globalization. And because technology is able to connect all of us there is better appreciation of the market. We understand the market and all that. And also, there is that kind of we're able to learn to improve what operations. Because of globalization, we are able to learn to improve operations because now we are having different markets, we have different cultures, we are sending goods and services in different markets. They have cross-cultural issues. It helps us understand the market and also learn to improve operation. And also it attracts and retains global talent. And as you saw in the presentation, most of the companies have foreign workers employed, okay? And that is very, very important. Now, some of the companies know, but others make sure that in every country that they establish or they move, they enter, what they do is they use the labor there to, to produce their goods and services. And so they're able to attract and retain these global talent, across the globe. So there's a reduced cost. An example is foreign locations with lower wages rate can lower direct and indirect costs. So an example is World Trade Organization as an example with what they brought in terms of trade agreements and reduction of tariff. North American Free Trade Agreement is NAFTA is one. In Africa, we've come out with what AFTA. And then we also have the APEC, CETO, and then the European Union, which has its own, as it were, trade agreement just to lower cost. So globalization lowers what costs and improve the supply chain. Locating facilities closer to unique resources is very, very important. And once that is done, it helps improve the supply chain. In other words, the supply chain doesn't become very long, and you have quicker access to the market. For instance, where your raw material, you have the deposit of your core raw materials, you are best locating your factory there rather than thinking of, locating it in the home, So you have auto designed to California, athletic shoe production to China, okay, perfume manufacturing in France. These are all for strategic reason in order to get closer to the market and also to improve the supply chain. So provide better goods and services, yes? So because of improved, supply chain service, because we have options as to which suppliers to source from, because we are on the global market, it makes easier. It's easier for us, as it were, to have on-time delivery and also have that kind of cultural variables that comes in to be able to make us better serve that particular market. And then there's also improved customer service. So we are also able to understand the market We are also able to understand the markets. There's the interaction with the foreign customers and suppliers that will lead to other opportunities because we have more interactions. Cell phones designed from Europe, cell phone FAD from Japan extends the product life cycle, and among others. And also, we are able to learn to improve operations. So one remains open to ideas. An example is General Motors partnered with a Japanese auto manufacturer to learn, because that is a form of benchmarking. And then equipment and layout has been improved using Scandinavian ergonometric competence. And because they were more open to ideas, they were more open to views, they were able to, as it were, achieve, this. And then attract and retain global talent. And that we say, because of globalization, we are able to offer better employment opportunities. So you saw in the presentation that some of the companies were able to retain foreigners in their company in where they cited their factories. And then we say better growth opportunities and insulation against unemployment, of course, relocate unneeded personnel to more prosperous locations and incentivize, the people who like to travel as well. So that is where we say we attract and retain global talent. And then when it comes to cultural and ethical issues, culture is the way of our life, is how we do our things. So culture can be quite different, and different cultures come in, to fuse together to work. So how do we accept multicultural dimensions to be able to work together? If you're moving to another market, they might have different cultures, they may have different norms, they may have different colors and all that. But how do we work? So attitude can be quite different. So issues of punctuality, lunch break, environment, intellectual property, thief-free, bribery, child labor, these multicultural issues can be understood very well, and that could help, the company scale, up. And then you may wish to consider these things: the national literacy rate of innovation. When it comes to cultural issues, you can look at the rate of technological change, number of skilled workers in that global market, political stability, product liability laws, export restrictions, variation in language. You can look at work ethnic, tax rate, inflation, availability of raw materials. All these things are very important when one wants to move into the global market. And then you can then now do the matching. If you want to come out with a global operation strategy, then you really need to understand the dynamics. So see this. You're seeing match product, and then what? Parent, where the product is housed. Okay. So Volkswagen is housed, is being produced by Lamborghini Autos, right? And then you have Gillette, the parent is Brand Household Appliances. And Sony, you have MGM Movies. So you can, these are the parents here, all right? So these are the products. So if you can match this one, that is the Brand Household Appliance, it goes to Gillette. Jaguar Motors goes to Ford Motor Company, and the Godiva chocolate goes to Campbell's Soup, right? Firestone tires for Bridgestone. So, ask yourself the question: if we are able to do this, it's able to tell you that we look at the market and see what the needs are, then we serve what? The market. So you could have one company having multi-product that they produce. The parent has other multi-what product that they produce, and they are for specific markets. And that's what globalization, really, does. So, and then you can also match look at the country and the product match. Those in Germany are looking at the company in Germany, Lamborghini is in Germany. You have United States, that's the brand household appliance. You have Firestone, which is in Japan. And then you have Alpo Pet Food, which is in Switzerland, among others. And these dynamics can help a new company which wants to go to the global market. So we'll end here for this section and then resume after break.